getaway run by Mr. Stanley, but the local gangs cannot go there, and the only place they can go to is the church coffee bar. Quite a few of the boys who go to this coffee bar have been barred from your club, haven't they?
Correct.
Now, well, why do you bar them?
Instigating trouble is the main cause. They have no interest whatsoever in what this club is open for, dancing and social enjoyment.
Can you give me any instance of this trouble?
They will come in gangs. As soon as they get in here, they look around for perhaps 2 or 3 boys who seem to be enjoying themselves, but are easy game for their particular type of roughhouse elements. And then they will either push them, they'll go up and cause an argument, which is very simple in dancing, or they'll go up and interfere with them in some way so that they get a reply of some description. One instance here, they didn't even wait for that. They walked straight up to a boy who is quite calm, very quiet type, and a very nice type. Simply said to him, "Are you hard, mate?" And with that, turned around and swacked the boy in the face.
And what did you do?
Had them out very quickly.
And how did you manage that?
Forcibly.
Do they attack you?
Oh, yes. Many times my face has been altered, some shape or form, by punching. Oh, yes. for a very short time.
It doesn't look as if it's been altered.
Oh, no, you get over it after a time.
But surely this new coffee bar is giving them a chance to let off steam.
I agree with the coffee bar if it will convert this 20 or 30 into the church and social living. But it is not doing that.
Well, at least the church have welcomed them.
Exactly. And what good have they done? It's been a failure. Everybody round there absolutely detests the nights it runs.
Obviously, if you are living on top of a club like this, it must be a damn nuisance. So I went to see 2 of the nearest neighbors to ask how and when the trouble started.
Well, quite soon after it opened.
Well, what sort of trouble?
Soon. Well, it was very, very noisy. They were allowed to run about the street, break windows, and do just as they liked inside the buildings as well.
Did they break many windows?
No, 2, but they caused quite a lot of damage other ways.
What sort of damage?
They tore down drain pipes from the buildings and threw them at people.
What were the other complaints you had?
Well, the noise of the music was very bad too. They had doors open and windows open, and it kept my child awake all evening. That was 3 times a week.
When you say all evening, when did it stop?
Oh, not until they went home at about 10:15.
Well, Mr. Hammond, you're another neighbor. Obviously, this club is a bit of a nuisance, but it doesn't seem as bad as all that.
Well, I think Mrs. Hammond understated the case. The trouble was that this place was open for youth, and we'd no objection to youth at all. But the type of youth that came after the first month that it was open were the real bad elements of the town. And when I approached the vicar about the people that were coming up, he said that those were the people that he wanted to come, because the bad elements were the ones he wanted to save for...
Yes, well, that sounds reasonable enough.
Make Christians of them. But the trouble was that there was no supervision, not in any shape or form. Someone made coffee for them, and someone wandered round patting them on the back. But the big thing is, when this thing first started, the toilets that these people used were open for all and sundry. Boys and girls both went to the same, and I actually went in one evening after they threw a piece of spout in at me. Actually, I think they threw it at my wall, but I was at the receiving end. And I went in to make a complaint about this, and I could see that the boys and girls were all using the same toilets. Actually, after
simultaneously?
Well, no, they were making love in the toilets.
Well, do you mean they were having sexual intercourse?
Oh, no, they were just making love, you know, kissing and cuddling and that sort of thing.
Well, necking?
Yes, but they were in the ladies' toilets when I saw them.
But you don't object to teenagers making love of that type, in principle, do you?
No, but I didn't think much of the situation that they used.
Whatever may be said about this place, it obviously fulfills a desperate need. The bleak, bare rooms were crowded with almost 400 teenagers, pathetically anxious to have a good time. Now, you're a member of the committee here. What does that involve?
Keeping order and seeing everything runs all right.
Do you have to keep order a lot?
Well, not much. It's quite quiet, really.
Why do you think this place is better than the others?
Well, they've not got anything against Edwardian suits, you know. You can wear what you like here.
Well, you go down the YMCA and everybody gives you dirty looks. Because of the clothes you wear, you see.
But you're very well dressed. Why do you think that you do get these black looks?
Well, I think it's a lot of people, you know, jealous, the grown-ups. I think that's mainly one of the reasons.
Well, because you're more smartly dressed than they are.
Well, we would think so, but how they talk, that's better than us, like.
Would you rather go with a teddy boy than an ordinary boy?
Teddy boy any day.
A teddy boy any day?
Yes.
Why?
Dunno. People wearing bell-bottom trousers. I wouldn't be seen dead with one.
What sort of job would you like?
I'd like to work at a GPO.
When did you last read a book?
Well, a really interesting book about 2 years ago.
What was that?
I was at school. The Secret Garden, I think.
How old are the two of you?
14.
And when do you leave school?
August.
Are you glad you're leaving?
Yes, I am.
Why?
Well, I don't like school much.
Why not?
I'm always getting into trouble at school, I am.
What sort of trouble?
Well, even if every day I get told off and how they can, that's me.
What for?
Various things.
What are you going to do when you leave?
Well, I want to go to Newmarket and be a trainer. Horses, with horses and that.
And you?
Well, I want a plumbing job, you know, going to a plumbing apprenticeship.
What would you like to do most this next year?
What, here in the summer?
Yes.
Oh, I like going for walks, rambles.
And what ambitions do you have?
Just want to be a good shorthand typist.
Are you called teddy boys?
Yeah.
Well, what do you feel when people say that?
I don't know. They want to laugh at them.
Do you get in fights?
Now and again.
What sort of remarks are made to you? Do you find the same thing happens?
Yeah. The terminator points the rear.
Hmm? I'm sorry, I can't hear what.
So the terminator points the rear.
You punch their head in?
Yeah.
What would be your idea of a perfect holiday?
Having a good time.
Where would you like to go?
I like to go abroad.
Where to?
America. Buckland's holiday camp.
What are you going to do when the weather gets better in the summer?
Well, I should still come to the coffee bar every Tuesday, Thursday and Friday.
Every night?
Yes, been here every night since it's been open.
Well, why do you come here?
Well, I think it's the only place in town where you don't have to pay to go in. If you go in a cafe, you have to pay to drink or something like that. You go to a dance, you'll have to pay, but here you don't have to pay to come in. I think that if I had to pay, not many people would come.
But when the weather's better and it's hot, you don't have to pay to go out in the country, do you?
Ah, but you see, if you go in the country, people get to mischief and things like that, and nothing much to do in the country. Yet if you come here, you can dance and talk to your friends and everything.
Hold me, hold me, hold me, hold me.
Lady Albemarle, you've seen this film. Do you think that the teenagers we've shown are in any way typical, or have we just happened to pick on a lunatic fringe?
No, I think that you've shown a very true picture of a great many teenagers today. It matches up very much with what I found going round. And I think that there are a lot of teenagers who are thinking like this and behaving like this.
And I imagine a lot of adults and parents will consider some of these children rather shocking.
Well, but I was rather wondering, you know, how the audience were reacting to this particular program, whether they're feeling at the moment surprised and shocked and rather hostile to young people. I think it's a very easy reaction that people have nowadays. I don't think it's a very constructive reaction. These young people are like they are because our society is throwing up this sort of problem. I think Crowther, you know, was saying something very true when he said in his report on secondary education that adults were the first to break the rules.
A lot of people might criticize their clothes. That's not my point of view, but quite a few people do.
Well, that I must say I have very little sympathy with, because it seems to me that it's a very superficial and rather stupid thing to think that people's behavior and people's attitude to life is conditioned by what they wear. Personally, I just happen to rather like a lot of their clothes. I think they're rather romantic and rather colorful and rather unconventional in a world which is pretty humdrum and pretty boring and pretty much on tram lines, usually.
Do you rather feel, as I sometimes did, that the more villainous ones are the ones with the greatest potentials?
Well, I feel that, and I feel it because of experience. I've seen these young people when they've built up a good relationship with an understanding and sensible adult, and the response is really tremendous.
And what about the future?
Well, the future, let's face it, if we're going to do nothing about it, we're going to be pretty unintelligent, because we've seen these young people, but we've got to remember that by 1964 there's going to be 1 million more. The bulge is coming out of the schools, national service is ending, and there I see a great hope in that I think we can get some leadership from the older ones, who after all do understand the attitudes and the outlook of these young people, and that's the first basis. If any of us want to help, we've got to try to understand.
And that goes for parents and everyone?
Everyone, I think.
A few days after we filmed the sequence in the coffee bar, I received a surprising letter from the mother of one of the boys that I spoke to. And you said, why not show them up for what they really are? Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, I think that this televising of the coffee club, as I said in my letter, it gives them big ideas and think themselves bigger than what they really do now.
What, it gives them swollen heads?
Well, with my own son, you see, we thought it was wonderful because he'd been televised. And I don't agree with anything that they do.
You say?
Going around in these gowns and wearing the clothes they do, but that's beside the point.
Why do you think they do this?
Well, with my own son, I think it's because that I've asked him not to, and he just does it in defiance.
Well, what would happen if you said that you liked his clothes?
Well, I just can't say that I like them because I don't. I think they're terrible.
But many boys of that age do wear clothes and do things which the parents don't understand.
Yes, I know. They want a lot of understanding.
But don't you think that perhaps with a little more understanding, they would grow out of this phase of wearing odd clothes and going about in gangs?
Yes, but my own case, I try to understand my son, but whatever I think about him, if I say anything to him, it isn't right.
What are the sorts of points that you disagree about, the two of you?
Well, if I ask him, I'll tell him to go out and enjoy himself, have a good time, but do it in a nice way. And there's lots of nice clothes, really smart clothes they can wear, teenagers nowadays.
Did you ask him not to go to this coffee bar?
No, I haven't asked him not to go there particularly.
Do you mind him going there?
No, I don't mind him going anywhere as long as he behaves himself.
What sort of examples can you give me of him not behaving himself? And what is it that you object to?
Well, he gets into trouble. I mean, he has been in trouble with police and...
What, for fighting?
No, not just fighting.
You mentioned here in your letter, my own son is just a lazy layabout who hasn't worked or brought any money home for 5 weeks because all he wants to do is go and sit in coffee bars. He doesn't suffer for it, but my 3 smaller children do. Well, in what way do they?
Well, if there's no money coming in, they can't get the things that they've been used to.
What about his own father? Is he still alive?
Yes.
But you're not living with...
No, I've remarried.
Yes.
Well, we've both remarried.
And is the stepfather living with you at the house?
Oh, yes.
And now the children, they his brothers or half-brothers?
The smallest 2 are half-brothers, but the eldest daughter and the middle daughter, they are real brother and sister, you see.
Don't you think it's possible that this split in the home life, having a stepfather, might account for his behaviour?
Well, I have been told that, and I have been blamed for the way he's grown up.
Do you love him?
Of course I do.
But many people would think it very strange that you should write to someone like myself, who you don't know, and refer to your own son as a lazy layabouts.
Well, that's what he has been for the last few weeks. He won't get up, he wouldn't go to work. He had 3 jobs in about 3 weeks. Just worked 1/2 day, and then that was the finish.
Otherwise, is your home a completely happy one?
Oh, yes.
Can you give any idea at all of what has gone wrong with him?
Well, no.
Oh, you sound as if you're just bewildered.
Well, I am really. I mean, I've tried really hard with him.
Well, I hope very much that he does soon change and that all this will be a thing of the past. And I'd like to also to thank you very much indeed for coming to put your point of view so very frankly.
80% of all children in this country leave school at 15, and one cannot deny that many of them go into boring, repetitive jobs and live in dull homes. But I'm sure that most of these troubles between parents and children are in fact timeless. They've always existed, but they are now out in the open. And because of this, I think it's all too easy to exaggerate the so-called teenage problem. There is the happier side of the picture. But in the slice of the teenage world that I saw, I was left with one disquieting thought. There seemed to be an element of sadness there, a wistful hankering after better things. All the new opportunities and all the new wealth have not necessarily brought contentment.
Living for kicks caused a storm of
Parroting those who parrot others are programs. How daft can you get? Is it any wonder there's so much crap on television?
I think Wicker's secret might be that he...
Good evening. And just before our main item tonight, athletics news just in from Haringey that Vladimir Flitsch has just walked off with the 500 metres. As a result, he's being sued by the North Thames Gas Board. But I'm sure everyone knows that this year the 19th Olympic Games are taking place in Mexico City, but a sensational piece of news has just been released. For the first time, a small contingent of Scottish athletes will be travelling to Mexico to compete in their own national events. And leading this rather unusual team is the Scottish women's caber tossing champion, Fiona McLeish. Good evening to you, Fiona.
And the top of the caber to you, Mr. Buff.
Amazing.
I love having you babysit for me, Jenny. Free on Saturday as well.
Oh, I'm free every night. With this.
What's the problem? Dandruff? I've got something new for that. Head and Shoulders.
Head and Shoulders? Oh, a shampoo. The ones I've tried never seem to do anything for my dandruff.
This is a new one, and it worked for me. Just use it regularly. Do try it.
Smells nice. Great lather. Great if it worked.
You look nice tonight. New sweater.
New hair, more like. I could never wrist black before. Your Head and Shoulders really did work. So tonight's for free.
All right, I'll pay you double on Saturday.
Saturday? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm booked. With a fella.
I see. Well, just keep your head and your shoulders.
New from Procter & Gamble, Head and Shoulders, a dandruff shampoo that works.
You know, some people think Formica decorative laminate is difficult to apply. In fact, it's easier to apply than to say. Your handyman shop has it, and they'll cut it to size for you. Then you glue it on and finish it off. Just look at this. There, what a difference. And you can do lots of things around the house just as easily with Formica decorative laminate. And this is the side to look for.
Palladium Girls proves Sarongster girdles with crossover panels let you move, keep you smooth. No matter how active you are, Sarongster's crossover panels let you move, keep you smooth.
This dreamy caftan is one of the gorgeous things
Wish I had 100
in Bond Street. Come and get carried away
Oh, yes.
at Phoenix.
Ooh. Woo!
Whatever you're doing, Mum Roulette helps keep you cool, keep you dry.
Ahoy there, mates! Anyone partial to bird's eye fish fingers? Captain Bird's Eye! Help yourselves, me hearties, while I have a word with your mum. Captain Bird's Eye's the name. I like to sail over just to see those faces when they're a-tucking into bird's eye fish fingers. Only whole cuts of sea fresh cod. And only bird's eye make a butter as crunchy as that. So take a tip from Captain Bird's Eye. Give 'em bird's eye fish fingers.
I was at school with Captain Bird's. The point about it is that
It's just easy.
You unlock this door.
Channel 4. Film on 4.
Nostalgic look back at Dennis Nordens' trailer cinema.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dennis Norden.
Hello. Hi. Listen, I tell you something surprising. Although there's probably been more books written about the movies than about anything outside of sex, that's assuming, of course, there is anything outside of sex. Nevertheless, there's not one book about my favourite part of a cinema programme, the trailers. In fact, like many greying film buffs, my idea of bliss would be a little cinema that shows nothing but trailers. Not, mind you, the sort of trailers they make today, because they're simply part of what the marketing department calls a total media mix. No, the ones my small establishment would replay are those from the heyday of trailer making, the 1950s and 60s, when there were still over 4,000 cinemas in this country, and every one of them offered us 2 full-length films every week. One of those would be what was known as the big picture, while the other, generally some low-budget minor movie, was referred to as the second feature, or as certain members of my family used to call it, the also. And it's the trailers for those alsos I'd love to be able to wander in and watch for an hour or so. Let me show you the sort of thing I mean.
Lisbon, the glittering, glamorous, storm center of international intrigue, where the hand of fate spins the wheel of chance, and the stakes are life or death. Into this whirlpool of secret agents comes mysterious, beautiful Vera Ralston, to meet tenacious, courageous Richard Arlen, Ruthless, money-hungry Erich von Stroheim. Fear-driven Otto Kruger. Sinister, nerveless Eduardo Cianelli. And reckless, laughing Robert Livingston. All playing a daring, dangerous game. Some as patriots without protection of uniform.
Under the circumstances, there isn't any reason why I should trust you or anybody else.
Craig, you've got to be careful. Teresco is going to...
Yes, they're having a wonderful time. But how come these two together? That's Alan Jeffcoat, whose father owns the Daisy Bank Mill. And the lass is Jenny Hawthorne, who works there. But then that's what most of our story is about. The dark and beautiful Jenny, whose heart would miss a beat every time Alan walked into the mill at Hindle. Lovely Lisa Daniele brings out all the pathos and beauty of Jenny Hawthorne. Brian Worth, as Alan Jeffcoat, makes you understand the man and his dilemma.
Alan, where's Landowner Shirley?
Right over there, just under the moon.
Yeah, you're a man, aren't you? Answer me. What if I don't know? So you admit it, you brazen hussy?
Is there one in your house? There's danger in it. Mixed up women. By America's fearless showman, Kroger Babb, with a cast of 10 great stars. Ruth Warwick, Richard Travis, William Tracy, Rise Williams, Thurston Hall, Ginger Prince. Box Office Magazine says this picture may very easily win Ruth Warwick an Oscar.
Well, not only did Ruth not get an Oscar, but as some of you mathematicians out there will have spotted, the 10 great stars actually only added up to 6. But seasoned trailer watchers used to delight in those sort of overheated B-movie claims. We knew that, unlike the big-budget first feature films, which could afford to lure in audiences with poster displays and press adverts as well, a trailer was the only thing those hard-pressed alsos had going for them, which is why they'd embellish it with all the highly coloured and unlikely superlatives they could lay hands on. We didn't believe any of them, of course, but we relished every one of them.
Excitement as hard-hitting as the heart can take. The Crooked Circle.
Mark! Mark! Oh!
Africa, as it's never been seen before. Kwahiri. Tell no one what you see.
And there's a phrase with the authentic tang of the 50s. We'll be returning to trailers for the Kwahiri type of movie in part 3. The programme gets trashier as the hour gets later. But for now, let's go a bit further into some of those trailer-making techniques. According to the experts we consulted, the main component of any second feature coming next week had to be either action or emotion, and preferably both. Now, obviously, the biggest drawing card in the emotion line was a love scene, which back then, remember, couldn't go any further than a mouth-closed kiss. And although by today's standard, that may seem like leaving a banquet after the soup, well, trailer makers did try to imply further biology going on by making sure that at least the music swelled up. Some examples.
Don't tell me I'm not your type.
You're a woman, aren't you?
This is really goodbye, isn't it?
Alan, we...
You can help me to redeem my misspent years. To fulfill my dreams.
Channing, I wanted to feel so proud. Instead, I'm just ashamed.
But I am proud. I'm proud of you. Of my love for you. And that you want to marry me.
I wish I'd have met you years ago.
Let me look at you. It's all come true. You on a hilltop with the wind in your hair. I've seen you standing like this on the desert and through the mud. Just the thought of you kept me sane.
Oh, Bluey, I've wanted you to come back so much.
I'm sorry about the quality of that last one. Like a lot of us, it's gone a little fuzzy. Well, for our next port of recall, let's go to what we were told was the other essential element of second feature trailers, action. Because that became an even stronger drawing card, apparently, if it could be shown taking place in some adventure-packed foreign location. Back in those pre-package tour days, you see, hardly anybody had been anywhere, so there were few ingredients of a trailer more potent than the promise of outdoor biff and bang in sun-drenched surroundings.
A murderer strikes on the lovely sun-drenched island of Sicily.
For a dramatic story that packs every kind of spectacular thrill, we give you the savage locale of Jungle Africa. For excitement and danger that takes you right into the picture. We bring you a cast that lives every romantic, suspense-ridden moment.
It can't be.
But it is.
What are you doing here?
I wish I knew.
Swamp hell of America's deadly jungle. Okey Funokey, fugitives from every land, decibels of every sin, the smugglers and traders of dope and humans, vanish into the mysterious marshy hideouts that only the strange airboats can penetrate. Okey Funokey, actually filmed in the most dangerous recesses of the Everglades. In a story of never-before-shown thrills and explosive terror. Okey Funokey.
Join this safari into a green hell of horror in search of a secret fortune in diamonds and gold.
I want that money so bad that every time I close my eyes, I can see it.
Marla English, a woman possessed by a passion for wealth. Tom Conway, a man maddened by his lust for power. Touch Connors, a white hunter entrapped by an adventuress's black heart. Mary Ellen Kay, a blonde captive in the darkness of Voodoo Land.
That one demonstrated something else to be said in favor of those old trailers. They gave you just about as much of certain films as you'd ever want to see. Now, among the wide variety of trailer tactics that they used to hit you with in those days, the one I was always sucked in by was known in the trade, so I'm told, as the "Who was the mysterious stranger" ploy. Now, used mainly to promote minor British whodunits, the trailer would ask the audience a series of questions that were almost impossible to answer without coming back next week to see the film. As a result, some of us fairly frequent cinema goers would spend the entire subsequent 7 days with something like this going round in our heads.
Who hated him enough to kill him? His partner, Griffiths?
There are times when I could kill you, Bennett.
Or maybe the man from South America called Miguel. Would he risk his life to see him dead?
Who wants to kill this woman? And why? Is it the drunk Winchelsky? Or Amos Colfax? A very respectable public accountant. What has Melanie Anderson got to hide? What does Nell Pretty know about this woman who is close to death?
What is there about this man that inspires such fear? What is his power that so threatens the happiness of others?
This faithful old servant. Why does he look so sad? And why is Henry so bitter?
I never found out the answers to any of those, so we thought perhaps you might like to work on them during the break. The particularly urgent one, of course, being, why is Henry so bitter? On our return in part 2, we can promise not only another 30 or 40 moments from our 50s and 60s alsos, but also this also.
He says that death awaits all who disturb the resting place of Carter Bay.
This letter and these plans of attack. My brother, the Grand Duke Vladimir, who is in command of the army at Irkutsk. Go, Michael Strogoff. For God, for Russia, for the Tsar.
The greatest two men dressed up in gorilla suits. But spare a thought for the production companies who had to make trailers for films like that. Imagine being handed 7 reels of the purest crud with an instruction to condense it down to 2 minutes in such a way as to make it look like an achievement. That's why I've always admired the artful way those trailer makers used to cover up some of the handicaps they worked under, never having any major stars to focus on, for instance. One favoured method of getting around that was simply to divert the audience's attention away from the actors to the parts they played, place all the emphasis on the characters in the story. Thus.
This is Teddy. She used a gun for holdups. This is Dora. She used a gun for burglary. This is Joy. She used a gun for murder. And this is Joe. He peddled the guns.
Boy, the boss of the airways. Snell, whose full-time job was blackmail. This is Avril. Her love had no strings attached.
Last night you talked about going away. If you do, don't just disappear.
Alexia was in it too, right up to her pretty, scheming little neck.
You better start drumming fast because things are starting to happen and they're coming your way.
7 women from hell. Regan, who tried bribery.
Big Japan! No good.
Anna, fighting for survival in the untamed jungle. Mara, whose weapon was sex.
I just thought that maybe you and I could...
My Lou, giving herself so the others could get away.
Run! Please, run!
Janet, having her baby under heavy air attack.
Think of it. Our characters like Wise Boy, Victor Skinner, the boss, Otto, the fence, Wide Boy, Snow White, his henchman. Mingling with this crooked gang is undercover man, James of the Yard, risking his life for information.
This is Mike Nelson, a gangster and a killer, with a price on his head in the States. Save your pity for his friends. For young Alan, who thought he was saving an innocent life and took her life instead. For Louise, his sister, whose tears cannot wash clean her brother's sordid way of life. What can the police do when their chief witness is a priest who cannot and will not betray the secrets of the confessional?
They've got 72 hours to crowd in a lifetime of living, and these girls are aching to help them. Alice, who's managed to follow her man.
I've seen you 6 times in the past 7 months.
Norma, whose daily hospital duties make her willing to close her eyes nightly. These are the girls men fight for.
Larry Duke's his name, a stock car racer who fights clean on and off the track.
Stop it! Stop it!
Paul Carpenter as Larry Duke. Susan Shaw, Gina, who cheats without turning a blonde hair. Rona Anderson as Katie.
Kill my father and then come over here and soap me into taking you into this garage.
Look, I told you, Walt and me were buddies.
And introducing Sabrina as Trixie, the forward beauty with the dumb appeal for some very questionable characters.
Little stir of recognition there, mostly for Sabrina, of course, but some of it, I hope, in response to that "and introducing" device. Another well-worn trailer technique when your cast was slightly less than headline making. Looking back over a few of those performers we were "and introduced" to, it's interesting how some of them maintained the acquaintanceship, while others we never seem to run across again. Here with a selection of both.
Go, cat, go. Well, if you say you gotta do it, don't. If you say you gotta do it, don't.
Rusty gaze through blue, easily got through and through.
How can we make out a price, Mr. Dean? Look, 7 days leave, 5 bob. Weekend pass, $50. Excuse duty chip.
Only one thing, Popey.
Only what?
Aren't we going to fight anybody?
And introducing Danica Patterson as the uncover girl, who covers up her past.
I bought that photograph ticket.
What the blade?
Ever.
Listen to hit parade star Adam Faith.
Oh, well, I saw you sitting there so cool. Looking such a pretty sight, like a stick of dynamite. Made you.
And introducing Anna Karina, the disturbing cousin from Corsica, who taught them a French lesson on how to stay young and beautiful and alive.
Things is different, I tell you.
Not for me, they aren't.
From a slice of biting social realism called I Believe in You. Now, some of you might like to sit down and clutch hold of something for our next bunch, because the films they're trailing are what used to be labelled X certificate, the ones for which you had to be either over 16 or accompanied by the price of a ticket. The certificate was applied to films that had A, very high horror content, or B, very high sex content. As we're leaving the B's to part 3, these examples are of trailers for 50s monster movies. So let me very quickly add, speaking as one who still gets nightmares about Bambi's mother, not one of them is likely to frighten anybody, not unless you're a person who can feel threatened by back-projected enlargements of someone's pet lizard munching a dinky toy.
What is this black menace that kills everything it sees and hears? No human mind could imagine the enormous destructive power of this maddened, killing thing. If you're young people in love, look out. If you're driving a lonely road, you're as good as dead. Never in the history of the United States, a monster of such size and power and horrifying hatred of man.
There's a huge monster gorilla that's constantly growing to outlandish proportions loose in the streets.
Tonga, the most fantastic beast of all time. Not since King Kong has the screen exploded with such mighty fury and spectacle. In the new process of spectamation and Eastman color, he grows in size and terror before your eyes.
Deep in the bowels of the earth it lives, the giant spider that traps all those who dare to enter this cavern of horror.
Spiders. I told them to bring me one, and I'd believe it.
I can't say I blame you, Sheriff. But Flynn's still missing, I believe.
There may be more giant spiders coming into the world. They may even be hatching from their eggs in some remote spot right now. Do you realize how easy it would be for them to overcome us humans? Then instead of being the hunters, we'd become the hunted.
Fear sends a wave of panic through the streets, leaving a trail of despair and destruction. You'll never believe it until you see it. You'll never forget the touch of the spider.
Started casually, insignificantly, as momentous events often do.
Look there. 2 points off the port bow.
I told you, didn't I? About as terrifying as the Care Bears. Fancy being frightened of a little behemoth. But you may have noticed the way that one of those made a big thing about its connection with a new process called spectamation, a name which, like Jutta Stensgaard and Michael T. Mickler, did not go on to become part of all our lives. But what it did exemplify was how some trailers would try almost anything to add a bit of extra juice to their product. So, to take us into the break, here's a little batch whose claims were even more transparently artificial.
For centuries, we have wondered. Now, for the first time, through the new photographic miracle of Cinemagic, you will see the wonders of this strange and terrifying world when you see the angry red planet. Travel thousands of miles through space to the unknown. Cinemagic is not being shown to you now, but this wild land comes alive in Cinemagic. You'll see buildings miles high in Cinemagic. Journey to the center of sudden terror in Cinemagic. Be trapped by the tentacles of man-devouring plants. Your eyes will see the wonders of a world no eyes in this world have ever seen before.
I wonder, will we ever get back to Earth?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the program in which you normally see the trailer advertising the next attraction to be screened at this theater. The film in question is The Mindbenders, which has an X certificate. It's so truly adult, so unusual, and so exciting, it would be spoiling things for you to show any of the scenes in advance, unless you could include some of the controversial ones, which unfortunately we are forbidden to do in a trailer.
They put the finger on this man. They put an X on this film. The man, Anthony Newley. The film, The Small World of Sammy Lee.
This is Anthony Newley speaking. Please come and see this film. I need the money.
Draft Worthington is now available at home. Worthington with a widget. The ring pull that tastes hand-pulled.
Shapiro.
What a fool I was to think you were true. I loved you only. I never thought we'd ever be through. But I don't care. Who can say why this had to be?
Draw a circle on the ground and make a voodoo sign. Serve you with a mighty big dose of love push number 9. Gotta take it slow. Take it easy. With these great supporting stars, Dennis Price, Michael Anderson Jr., Bernie Winters, Richard Wattis. Where? Jeremy Lloyd.
That.
Swinging boys, we match the zingiest girls.
Twist, 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 everybody. Come on now, 'cause Twister's here today.
There's thrill upon thrill, cold steel against cold steel when the son of D'Artagnan outwits the devil at his own game to defeat one of the most insidious plots in all history.
You don't suspect who they are. They are much too powerful.
Tell me who they are and who's in command.
Forward with the musketeers and on with the gay swordsman. Hot blood in his veins, cold steel in his hands, and a beautiful woman in his arms. On, into the most glorious of all romantic adventures.
The soldier who attempts this mission is almost certain to die. Do you want to be that soldier?
When do you want me to go?
Tonight.
Who would have thought that someday I would be begging for a man's love?
And my earrings, please.
This is Ela. There's never been anyone like her before, and there'll never be anyone like her again.
And my necklace, please.
Not for Mike, who picked her up in a bar one night and lost his peace of mind. Who gave her shelter in return for anything she had to spare. Only Jack had the measure of this blonde witch with a tongue as smooth as silk and a heart as hard as granite.
Here, jump!
From a soggy patch of the year 1959, when some of us still used to watch B-movie fight scenes for the pleasure of seeing people not getting hurt. See, at that time, the budget of those films rarely ran to hiring an expert stunt coordinator to stage a fight scene properly. So one of the incidental delights of trailer watching was counting up how many viciously delivered blows didn't actually connect. Mind you, it meant looking pretty carefully.
What are you going to do now?
But I have already explained. I'm going to kill him. There is a little spot just here. The bullet will pass through the brain. I press the trigger, and then our friend is no longer with us.
Your kind would dream of. I ordered you not to interrupt.
Engage fights. Told you to stop right. Maybe you just like to walk on out of here and you can forget you ever knew it. Isn't that it?
Well, I get your message.
Biding his time till it is ripe to strike again.
He had always helped himself to his full share of trouble. But there'd be nothing serious.
No money is safe. No man is safe. Nothing stops the amazing transparent man. Into army-guarded secret government vaults he goes, stealing confidence.